What logic worked for you for forward contract, the same logic works for future. Because essentially, a future is a more sophisticated and standardized version of forward. Now, there is one big difference that we would first cover. This is a part of your level 1, but we'll still cover so that we are clear with what we're doing as of now. Let us say that at time 0, we enter into a forward contract which gives us a contract price of 100 rupee. It's a forward contract. Now, that spot price after 1 year, which is your maturity, became, let us say, 250. You have a right to buy. This forward contract price remains intact. It never changes. You have a right to buy at 100 some asset which is in the market 250. How much is your profit? 150. Straightforward. So either you do a cash settlement or you delivery. If it's a cash settlement, you take 150. If it's a delivery, you take asset worth 250 at a price of 100. If it's a future contract and you entered the future at 100, Manvi, this future price, the contract price changes every day. So let us say that somewhere here, making some theoretical assumptions, assuming that there is no contango or backwardation, that means assuming that spot and forward are moving together. If this spot is 150, this forward will also be 150. It might be higher, it might be lesser, but the forward contract price itself keeps on changing. Here, if the spot becomes 250, then the forward here is how much? 250. Then the question is, in the earlier case it made sense. I have a right to buy at 100, price in the market 250, I have a profit. Here, if the spot price increases, the future price also increases. Then where is my profit coming from? Because I have a right to buy at 250, price in the market 250, where is my profit? That profit is already deposited into my account in the form of mark to market. So when the spot price or forward price became 150, in my account, mark to market, 50 rupees were deposited. Correct? And from whom these were deposited? They were extracted from short's account and deposited into my account. So if I am earning some amount, it's his amount that I'm earning. This is where I would be deposited additional 100, because from 150 it became 250. So total amount which has been deposited into my account by now is 150. So imagine now, even though I buy the asset at 250 executing my future contract, out of that 150 is not my own money. So effectively I'm still buying the asset at 100. Are you following this? But important difference is that this future keeps on moving. And of course in this question I assume that it's same, but it is quite possible that future here would be 170 or it would be 180. However, on this day, future and spot has to be same. They have to converge. So on maturity date, whatever is the spot price, the same would be the future price. Are we okay up to this? So with this understanding, now tell me that we are looking at an asset. There is a forward and future contract available on both the assets. The prices offered are also same. Given a choice, which one of these two would you prefer to lock in your money in? Or which one of these two would you prefer to enter? A forward or a future? A future. Why? Huh? No, so keeping default contract, I agree. There's a default risk with forward contract which is not there with future. So let's keep the default risk intact. Assume. Yes. So what he's saying is, if I'm in profit, money will get deposited. But if I'm in loss, I will have to deposit money, which I don't have to deposit in case of forward contract. So what do I do? Depending upon the interest rates. So interest rates are 10%. Now tell me, what should I choose? Yeah, of course. I mean, keeping those, I agree. Transaction cost is there. in future we have margin. An important point here is we would look at the correlation between asset price and interest rate. Correlation between price of the asset and interest rate. As of now, I'm thinking from the perspective of long. Okay. Let us say that correlation is positive. What is the meaning of positive correlation? When the asset price increases, that is the same time when the interest rates have increased. Now imagine, when asset price increases, in case of future, do you get that money in your account? Yes. And then that money you get to invest at a higher rate. So my preference is for future. If asset price decreases, interest rate will decrease. Now when asset price decreases, do you have to deposit money into your account? Yes. But in that case, you would get to borrow at a cheaper rate. So if the correlation between asset and interest is positive, your preference is going to be for future contracts. Are we clear? Now, what kind of assets do you find in the market which exhibit positive correlation with interest rates? What kind of assets do you find in the market which would exhibit a positive correlation with interest rates? Huh? Land. Okay. Generally, finding this kind of asset is difficult. Why? Because any asset will have value of present value as future cash flow. And when you're taking present value with higher interest rate, asset value would be lower. So generally this is a difficult scenario to find. Right? But yeah, what she says, there are certain theories available in the market. One of the theory is that when interest rates increase a lot and there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, then a lot of money might move out of the markets because of uncertainty and get into tangible assets. Because in case of uncertain environment, people like to see their assets. People like to see their tangible assets. So then money goes into gold, real estate and land. If that is the case, then probably this might be true. But again, very rare. Right? And we would be doing this. When we do alternative investment, there is some theory around this. We'll do this. Let's look at negative scenario. Now, when the asset price increased, interest rate decreased. So, even if I have future, I get to invest at a lower rate. So I don't have a substantial benefit. So I might go for forward. But the benefit of forward here is that when asset price is lower, I don't have to borrow at a higher rate. So which means in case of negative correlation, we would be here. In case of positive correlation, we would be here. Any question or any doubts? The last point here, this one. When the asset price decreases, interest rate is higher. If I invest into future, I will have to borrow at a very high rate to put my margin. So I prefer a forward. Any question? Okay. Now there is some ambiguity related to this area. For short, it works the other way around. Okay, and we'll see that. But I've seen many questions where they do not specify whether you're thinking for long or short. Okay, so if this is the scenario on the exam, assume long, because that's how the curriculum has been written. So if they do not say anything, this is the answer. You're thinking from the perspective of long. But let's think from the perspective of short now. So you are short. When the asset price will increase, you are expected to deposit money because you are short. So you are making losses. If interest rates is higher, you'll have to, if you invest into future, you'll have to borrow at a higher rate. So of course you wouldn't like that. So you would go with forwards. Again here, when asset price decreases, that's time you earn money. But interest rate is anyways lower. So you anyways don't have the benefit of investing that extra money. So you'll stick to forwards. Here, When asset price increases, this is where you are making losses. But losses you can fund yourself at a very low interest rate. So you have an inclination towards future. When asset price decreases here, when you are making profit, these profits you'll get to invest at a higher rate, and therefore you have an inclination towards future. So if you're short, the equation changes, it goes exactly the other way around. But don't remember, try to conceptualize this. Any questions? Yes, no?